Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and today we're unboxing the Dell Inspiron 13 7000 2-in-1 Black Edition. So, I'm going to tell you right now something that I love about this convertible that we're about to open up. There are no bad options. If you look it up, right, you look for the Inspiron 13 7390 2-in-1 Black Edition. There are two configurations on Dell.com. Just two. They both include an i7. They both include 16 gigs of RAM. And one has 256 gigs of SSD. And the other has Intel Optane memory, 32 gigs, and 512 gig SSD. 1349 and 1449, it's great. And you know what I love about that? They don't give consumers chances to make bad choices. And there's nothing worse than giving consumers chances to make bad choices, because, I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably had someone come to you and say, hey, what laptop should I buy? And you say, well, how much are you looking to spend? And they say, well, $200. Well, can I get a good laptop for $200? And that's where the conversation starts. And then even if you talk them into buying a decent laptop, they want the very base model. I only use it for email and Facebook. Anyway, I digress. I like it when companies don't let people make bad choices. So yes, there are only two configurations of this. Starts at 3.68 pounds. Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM. Can't beat that, So let's get this guy open. There's a couple cool features of this laptop that I'm very excited about. Mainly the pen garage, and we're going to look at that in a second. So right at the top of the box here, we have the charger. It's a barrel charger, unfortunately, and it is a 65 watt barrel charger. I am against barrel chargers. I assume that you could also charge it through the USB Type-C port. If you can, I'm really upset about that. I'm seeing a lot of devices where you just can't, some, not a lot. I should never say a lot. But, alright, here we go. There's no pen in the box. The pen might be stored inside the device, which would be really cool. Alright, so let's get this open and finally get this thing out of this little bag. So you can see all black. It is the Black Edition after all. So if I open up the lid, yes, there's the pen. So you can see it has a pen garage right in the hinge. Okay, and it's a rotating hinge, so it's right on top there. And it's magnetized, so it's not just going to fall out on you. Let's see if we can hold it upside down. Pen stays in there. Pretty cool. Yeah, not complaining about that. So that spec sheet only says 13.3 inch touch display. So let's just take a look at the specs of this display. And it is 4K, yes, which is very nice. Yeah, let's take a closer look. So you can see that beautiful 4K display. Dell Cinema, so it's going to support HDR. Great stuff there. Narrow side bezels. The top bezel is fairly narrow. It's not XPS level narrow, but that's okay. It does keep the webcam on top. And it has a redesigned keyboard. This is the power button over here, although it's not labeled. It's also going to be a fingerprint sensor. Now, the bad news, it doesn't scan the fingerprint when you boot up your PC like Huawei or LG does. You do have to scan it again after it boots up when you're at the lock screen. The reason for this, Dell thinks it's a security issue, and the idea is that it takes a certain amount of time for your PC to boot up, and it's reasonable to assume that you may have walked away from your PC in that time. So that's why Dell won't include the feature. A couple other things here. So we got a pretty big trackpad, which is nice. Like I said, I love the pen garage. And here's what I love about the pen garage. It's that there are many ways to store a pen. Microsoft uses a magnet on the side, and the problem with that is that it falls off in your bag sometimes. They used to use a pen loop, which was a little loop that you'd stick to the side and you'd stick the pen in there, but that just kind of gets in the way. Lenovo with its ThinkPad X1 Yoga actually has a little slot in the side where you can put the pen, but the problem with that is you end up with a very small pen. So this is an innovative solution because it's a full-size pen, but it's stored within the device. It's very cool. So we can take a look at what else we have here. Over here we have a HDMI port and a USB Type-C port, which does, it's USB 3.1 Gen 1, but it does support charging, display port, and then of course there's the barrel charger, which is something that I'm against, as I've pointed out. We have a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A port over here, micro SD, and a 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack. So it gets the job done in terms of ports. You have one USB Type-C port, one USB Type A port. Okay, look at the back. Kind of a smooth design here. Aluminum, all black. Very, very cool device. I like it a lot. So one thing that we can look at is that you can see that if we bend it back, it kind of props it up a little bit. So Dell says that this is smart enough to know whether you're using it on your lap or you're using it on a desk. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to adjust the thermals and the performance to optimize for whatever it thinks you're doing. So you should get some performance improvements out of that. Another thing that's interesting about Dell PCs here is, well, you have Dell Cinema, by the way, and I mentioned that briefly, and so you get things like Cinema Color, Cinema Sound, and Cinema Stream. Cinema Color is HDR, basically getting the best display experience. Cinema Sound is obviously about audio, and Cinema Stream is going to be about streaming, really. So it's basically doing what Killer Wireless did for gaming, except for streaming, and it's prioritizing your network traffic to, or your PC's network traffic to be optimized for your stream. Okay, Dell Mobile Connect is a good one, and that's really why I opened the Start menu to show. This is a pretty good app, and what it does is it allows you to send and receive text from your phone, and it does work with iOS. It does have some issues. Last time I used it, it should be a lot better, actually. But it does send text from an iPhone. So if you have an Android phone, you can mirror your screen, transfer files. But calls and text should work with everything. So if you're using, say, Microsoft's Your Phone, you'll have more functionality with this. Dell's Mobile Connect is a pretty good product, and it's pretty much open up to everything now, which is kind of cool. So what we've got here is a premium convertible for around $1,400, give or take, depending on which of the two models you choose. The Pen Garage is just a really smart feature. You know, obviously you can use it as a tablet. You can prop it up as a tent and watch some movies. You know, there's presentation mode where the keyboard is facing down here. And of course there's Windows Ink, which Windows Ink is a phenomenal feature. I give Microsoft a hard time a lot about how bad Windows 10 is on tablets, and I stand by that. But as far as pen features go and Windows Ink, I'd say that Windows 10 is really good because there's just a lot you can do. You can write on sticky notes. There's handwriting recognition. You could draw in Sketchpad, which is fantastic. Oh, this is a nice pen. Ooh, whoa! There's like very little lag here, which is, I gotta say, I'm impressed. But I digress because I'm also not a drawing expert. If you're looking for an artist, you came to the wrong place. But I do take a lot of handwritten notes, which I love OneNote. I love, you know, if you ever see me at a press event, you'll see me taking notes just like this with a convertible laptop. I did go to one event with an iPad and an Apple Pencil, and I did the same thing because I decided to bring a clamshell that year and my iPad, which actually kind of worked out. But that the whole idea of one device to do everything is what a convertible is all about. And I do love convertibles, but I also have to take whatever I'm reviewing to an event. I digress again. Lots of stuff you can do with ink in on Windows 10. You could open up the Maps app and you can draw a line between two places, and it will make you a route between those, a driving route between those two places. Lots of cool stuff. In Photos, you could write on Photos. So, yeah, Windows Ink is really good, and I think this is a valuable asset to this PC. I don't say that about all convertibles. Some convertibles have an issue in that there's either no way to store the pen. I have a couple HP convertibles like that, or it's not practical to store the pen. So having it with you at all times increases the value proposition of the convertible aspect of this PC. So pretty light at over 3.5 pounds. So it's not the lightest, but it's light. Actually, scratch that. I just went back and checked the spec sheet again because reading the listing that said starting at 3.68 pounds did not sound right. This does not feel that heavy. This is no XPS 15 level weight. And so the spec sheet that I looked at actually says 3.08 pounds. The listing at Dell.com does say starting at 3.68 pounds. That's got to be wrong. There's no way that this thing is almost 4 pounds. It's, like I said, pretty light, not the lightest. So, premium, which is going to be, so you get an XPS 13 2-in-1, that's going to be well under 3 pounds. This is over 3 pounds. Not over 3.5 pounds, luckily, because 3.5 pounds would actually be pretty heavy. So, yeah, really nice stuff. I'm excited to use this. 13.3-inch display, 4K. What's funny is I actually recently unboxed the HP Envy 13, and that's a clamshell, but it's actually a really similar device to this. As far as, obviously, Whiskey Lake processor, 16 gigs of RAM, but down to like having a barrel charger instead of USB Type-C, USB 3.1, no Thunderbolt, no IR camera, fingerprint sensor instead. It's there's really just a lot of similarities. 4K display, 13.3 inches. And these are both, it's just funny that I got them both at the same time because they're both that step below premium, whereas this is that short step below XPS 13 or XPS 13 2-in-1. And, where that HP Envy is that short step below Spectre. One thing I will say here, though, is that this has a, like I said, Whiskey Lake processor, Core i7-8565U. And that is a 15-watt quad-core chip, which is the successor to Kaby Lake R, which is also 8th generation. I know it's crazy. Intel had 2 generations of 8th gen U series. Don't get me started on that. And then they're skipping right to 10th gen, so whatever. If you buy an XPS 13 2-in-1 right now, you're going to get an 8th generation Y series chip, which is a 5-watt dual-core chip. So you actually get a lot more power out of this machine than you do out of the current generation XPS 13 2-in-1. With the next one, which they've already announced, they're going to a full 15-watt chip, finally. And it's going to be the 10 nanometer Intel Ice Lake processors. And we're missing some information on that. It's not even called U series anymore. They're going with some new naming scheme, but it should be the full 15-watt processor, which should be really nice. But as it is right now, this is probably the most power. This is probably the best 13-inch 2-in-1 that you could get from Dell, unless you're looking for that super portable, very narrow bezels that you get from XPS. But as far as a balance between power and portability, this is probably the way to go from Dell. So anyway, guys, I'm going to have a review on this in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great day.